boom, 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 boom. Welcome everybody to Third Thoughts. This is live in person from Washington, D.C. This is the podcast of the week. That was me and Davis doing the intro jingle because I forgot to load it on my phone. So I'm standing here. Davis and I are. This is Clay. I'm not live with the chief himself in the flesh, and nor am I with RNDY. I'm with one of my best buds. We take a trip every year, and this year is DC. So we drove up today from Georgia, and so we're standing literally in front of the U.S. Capitol building, and we're reporting to you live. If somebody who's listening live on Spreaker would hop in the chat and let me know if this sounds passable, if it's not making your ears bleed or anything. I was going to do it walking down the street, but there's a lot of noise. But now it's pretty quiet here. Not a whole lot of people. Obviously, it's 8:33. So this is a special late night edition of Third Thoughts. One like never before, truly. And so we're trending live. The episode title is Trending. We got a few stories. We're not going to take a long time, mainly because my phone is on 23% and Davis is even lower. And we've got to get back to our Airbnb somehow.
Via Uber.
So we're going to have to cut it off whenever it seems to be too late. I'm getting word from a loyal listener that it sounds fine, so that's all good. I'm glad. I hope you had a fantastic Wednesday. Normally we go live every Wednesday at 2 p.m. From the office there in Georgia, but now this is special on location. Davis, welcome to the show. Never had you on, but it's good to have you. Good to be here with you.
I probably listened to every episode, a couple episodes once or twice. Thought about donating, never have, just don't trust online giving.
Do you want to tell them where they can donate if they do trust online giving?
Is it the Patreon?
Patreon. That's it.
Okay.
That's it. Patreon.com/third podcast. You can donate if you want to make more trips to Washington and other places possible. I will promise to use that money to go on a trip.
Yeah, it's I'm in awe right now.
Are you?
This capital of ours, it's beautiful.
It is beautiful. It's especially at night. Everything's lit really well. I'm big on lights. You know me. I'm big on lighting. I'm big on the way it's lit, what it's like. Everything's lit really well.
Yeah, just the ambiance of it. Just from everything. It's just so beautifully manicured and it's just so done well. This is America.
You can definitely see where some federal tax dollars are going. But let me ask you this. As we were getting ready for this, we saw a few
creatures?
A few other guests to the Capitol, if you will.
I think they're natives.
One particularly large, digging through a trash can, and another which literally walked up to us just a second ago as we stand here in front of the steps. The rats. We've only seen two, but that's, to me, I didn't see any rats in New York. Did you?
I didn't. I've heard about the size of the ones in New York and never experienced them, but these ones, they might rival that.
Yeah, I'm gonna need a rat check from from President Trump immediately. I'm gonna put that on his desk. I'm gonna slide it by there if I get a chance. No, but anyway, so it was a good trip up. We're having a good time. We're just hanging out. Not a whole lot going on in the news that we can tell. But Davis, you have a few stories that you wanted to share about that were particularly interesting. We drove through several states today. One of those states was South Carolina, naturally, that's your home and native.
Yeah, that's originally where I'm from, but that's where I live now with my wife.
So you live basically on the state line between Georgia and South Carolina, but you're a South Carolina resident now.
Yeah.
Tell me about what's going on.
Well, I found this lovely story. Many of you know Charleston, another beautiful city like D.C. here, filled with history and culture. And something happened this week. It just so happened to be raw, unfiltered, and maybe even a little messy. What happened was...
Well, you're a natural. You really set that up well. I just want to let you know.
Yeah, I got to button up my chops.
I hear you.
But South Carolina officials, they were warning people, the citizens of the great city of Charleston, about flushable wipes. I don't know if many of you use flushable wipes. I'm not particularly keen on using them.
I do not.
But apparently people were using them and flushing them down the toilet. And a lot of them do say they're flushable, apparently, on the packages.
Well, I would assume if it says flushable, I mean, I think it's safe, right?
Well, one would think. But apparently, divers had to go down into raw sewage to remove a clump.
So you mean professionally trained divers
It seems that way.
were deployed into the sewage of Charleston to investigate the flushable wipe issue?
There was a clog. It was a major clog
Okay.
in the system, in the sewage. I guess causing backups all over the city, but it was not pretty. This is a quote from that. The Charleston water system shared pictures of the blackened masses on Twitter.
No.
Yeah, and it says this. It says, wipes clog pipes, right? If not, baby wipes clogged a series of large pumps at our Plum Island wastewater treatment plant on Thursday afternoon. The Charleston water system wrote on Twitter, adding, "We worked 24/7 to get them out." So this just wasn't an easy fix. It wasn't like just like an easy day at the office type deal.
No, I would imagine not. This was last Thursday then.
Yeah. So divers swam through wet, raw sewage in complete darkness, using their hands to find the source of the obstruction.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be a mess.
So let me ask you. I don't know. I mean, I don't think you're an expert on this or anything, but maybe you have some thoughts. Do they like outsource the divers? Like, who are they going to for this? Like, are we going to government workers? Are we going to, like, who's diving?
I don't know. I hope it's Navy SEALs almost at this point. I mean, the way it looked. If it's pitch black.
Imagine if it was Navy SEAls. Imagine being one of the heroes that saved those boys in Thailand.
Yeah.
And then imagine being the guy that was deployed to Charleston.
Oh my god.
To get the flushable wipes out of the sewage system. To me, that's two different categories of diver.
I don't know, but all I can say is to save your local city, to save your local water treatment center, just don't flush wipes.
Just don't. Even if they say flushable.
Just
save
toss
it.
Them. Save it.
What do you mean saved?
I mean, just save it for a rainy day.
Okay. I'm with you.
Don't just put it in immediately.
I'm with you. Wow. Yikes. I have one story personally. I don't even know how to. I don't know how you segue from that. Do you?
I don't know. This is just a beautiful city. Gorgeous.
All right.
I feel like such a patriot.
Go back to Washington. Then.
I mean, once again, this is Third Thoughts podcast live from the steps of the Capitol. With
Truly.
Clay and Davis.
Wow, are you the host now?
No, I'm just getting a little roll in.
Wow, you're like Chief, trying to just snatch it.
I don't have any Chiefs corner stories, I promise.
Yeah, those would be good. Well, I think that kind of was a Chiefs story. It was a Chiefs corner story.
It was. It was very reminiscent. In honor.
In honor. That is it, Chief. A couple other things happening. There was a report. I don't have all the details on it. Since we're in Washington, we might as well report one that has to do with Washington, right?
Yeah.
The thing going on over in Saudi Arabia, where the guy disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently Trump came out and said that he didn't think any foul play was going on with the Saudi government, right?
Right.
So they apparently wired him $100 million.
Who? The government?
Yeah, to the United States.
Oh, okay.
After he came out and said that.
Okay.
I don't know anything beyond that at this point. I think that's still kind of a developing story. But oddly enough, what you could do is if you play, is it Mega Millions right now?
Yes. Yeah.
If you played Mega Millions, you could get 9 times that amount.
Yeah.
And then you could probably buy your way into some international business.
More than that.
$900 million.
Yeah. Buy a couple companies.
A few things. I think that if I paid tax on that $900 million, if I won, I think the first thing I would want to happen is the rat population.
Yeah.
To be culled. We need a rat culling in D.C.
Should that be in the Constitution?
We need some amendments, man. It needs to be a rat amendment. Another thing going on is this thing with Facebook.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Check this out. This is from Reuters. 4 major U.S. public funds, speaking of money. There's a segue. Sometimes the segue is in the first story.
I love
like
that.
the first line of the next story.
Yeah.
I'm not a professional.
Of course. I mean, neither am I.
But somehow it just seems to work out. 4 major U.S. public funds that hold shares in Facebook on Wednesday, today, proposed removing Chief Executive Officer Mark Zuckerberg as chairman following several high-profile scandals, and said that they hope to gain backing from larger asset managers. Rough goings for tech CEOs lately.
Yeah.
Get the stuff with
Musk.
Elon Musk. The stuff with, I think Kanye West is probably worth mentioning. He's not really a tech CEO,
right?
But he's in pop culture, and he's
Yeah.
very popular, very rich, and in the fashion industry, kind of runs his own business, right? So he's going through something.
Bless him.
And then you have Zuckerberg, who somehow escaped when he had to come to Washington not too long ago. Somehow got out of there.
I think he was in his 2-bedroom home in San Fran.
Was he? Did he send his robot out here to testify?
I don't know.
His clone self?
Well, he does that Facebook Live stuff where he's like in the hurricane.
Yeah, those are terrible.
Yeah.
So Zuck under fire again, but this time from some shareholders. Not a good look for the Zuck.
No.
State treasurers from Illinois, Rhode Island, and Pennsylvania, and New York City Comptroller Scott Stringer co-filed a proposal. So you got several people with lots and lots of cash.
Yeah.
Mega Millions cash.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Probably more. And they want you gone. But here's the thing about it. And this is the thing I always bring up about Zuckerberg is that you may have something against him. You may have a weapon against him. But he's the Zuck. Okay? And he has all your info.
Oh, yeah. Apparently, he's getting into people's PayPals.
Right. He knows everything about you. He knows more about you than the people who work in this fine city that we're standing in.
Yeah.
He's always listening to you through his apps that are on your phone.
Yeah.
They're not on my phone.
I know. I need to delete them, but just can't do it. I like getting tailored ads, okay?
Well, speaking of that, okay. Have you had any of those lately? You've been talking about something and it shows up?
I think the most recent was we were talking about eating at a restaurant, me and my wife were, and I think it was maybe like Carrabba's or somewhere like local around there, and we just like mentioned it in passing, and the next day I looked on Facebook and there was the ad for that restaurant.
That is pretty creepy. We talked about this on Third Thoughts before, but I have one better for you.
Okay.
And Chief was actually telling me about this. I think, was it yesterday or the day before? But as he and his wife were talking about something, and as they were talking about it,
right,
it popped up in the middle of the conversation. And I had one similar where I was talking with a couple people in the church lobby a few weeks ago, and they were talking about tamales.
Yum.
And as we were mentioning tamales, tamales are yum, but as we were mentioning tamales, there was an alert that popped up from news, and it was a news story about tamales.
No.
From Apple News, yeah. So
what about tamales?
I don't remember. It was some article. Okay. I can't remember anything about the story. I was too freaked out by the fact that
it was about.
I literally just said the word tamales, and now I'm getting tailored news. Right?
Yeah.
So it's not just tailored ads. Mm-hmm. Now they want to tell you what they think you're interested in, and they want to tell you from the news, so you get that spin from it too.
That's more Apple.
I mean, to me, no tech giant is safe. Okay.
Yeah.
If you use anybody, you just should expect that your information is out there. I don't think that's any reason to not take precautions.
Right.
You should always be safe with your personal information, but I don't know that there's any avoiding it at this point. Especially with, I was reading an article last night about the Equifax breach not too long ago.
Yeah.
How they basically got away with that scot-free. Nothing happened to them. And that was, millions of users' info just out there. And that's info that they collect that you don't you don't necessarily voluntarily give that. You know,
Right.
it's not like Facebook where you, oh, hey, I'm gonna put my name and my phone number on my picture, birthday, all that stuff. I mean, this is stuff they collect on you as you build credit, use money, and then all that got leaked. Well, yeah, I mean, with that information floating around out there, it's probably a safe bet that any of us could be a target for identity theft. It's happened to my roommate several times recently.
Wow. I mean, I don't know. I always think about that when those ads for Experian and those type of places where you can like check and see if your identity's been stolen. Is that really a foolproof thing to go through? Or?
Well, right. Like now, I think at one point that would be like the safe thing to do, right?
Yeah.
Because you think you're safeguarding yourself. But now with the breaches, I mean, how can I be sure that company's not just flipping my info?
Yeah.
They want to take my money for my info.
Yeah.
To run it, and then how do I know they're not flipping it?
Right.
I don't know, man.
I don't know either.
Conspiracy.
It is. On the steps of the Capitol.
Truly.
Conspiracy.
Yeah. Do you have another story? Was there another story you had?
I do have one more. It goes along with social media and things trending and things being popular in the news right now.
Sure.
And I've actually seen a couple articles on this, but it talks about how people, this is actually people, this is from Business Insiders. It's from people who live in the Bay Area, people who work for tech giants, again, Google, Apple, Uber, those type places. They're putting off having kids because of the expenses to having kids. Mm-hmm. They go on to talk about how much, how raising a child now, how supporting a child is now exponentially grown compared to what it was 10 years ago.
Sure. And the housing prices in San Francisco, right? That was kind of the big deal, right?
Yeah,
that was the point of
the cost of living, everything is outrageous. And so what it's doing is people are trying to make their livings now, save up, and then wait till later to have kids. That way they can work, they can grind, they can do their thing, but later in life they'll have their kids, they'll have their family, they'll start their family. But
when they feel more established.
Right, when they feel more established, when they feel more, in that place, they're ready to have kids.
Sure. Well, and it's, to me, what's disturbing is now you have, I think perhaps some people in some more, I would say, blue-collar areas have kind of felt that way, right?
Yeah.
Perhaps. But now you see it kind of getting into the people who work at these tech giants, Google, Apple, those places over in Silicon Valley, and even they cannot keep up with the rising cost, even being within some of the most rich companies that exist. Disturbing to me. But Davis, you're a young. You just got married.
Yeah.
Last January.
Yep.
You said your 9 months was Saturday. So congrats.
Appreciate it.
But you're a young married couple with your wife, and I mean, you don't have to really get into it. But I'm wondering, are you in this trend? I mean, how do you feel about this? Are you waiting longer on purpose because of rising housing costs, or?
I don't know. You kind of sound like my mom, but
I don't mean to.
No, I'm just teasing.
She's wonderful, but I don't mean to.
No, but
I'm just curious because it's a trend, and you fall in the demographic.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, you're coming up. You're a young professional.
Yeah.
And you don't have kids yet.
Right.
And you live in an area that I think is growing.
Yep.
But still, perhaps, I don't know, Aiken's kind of out there. So, I mean, I guess the cost doesn't really compare to somewhere like San Francisco or Atlanta.
Yeah.
Or, even, somewhere like D.C. But I mean, how do you feel about that? You're going to contribute to this trend?
Maybe not in that extent where I wait till like my later 30s and into 40s, but there is that sense in me, and I think in a lot of people, where they want to be established. Mm-hmm. They want to make sure they're comfortable and they can support a kid, because really you don't want to bring a child in the world and just sort of not be able to support your kid or support your wife or support your family. You want to be able to have the means necessary to support them. And,
sure.
I think it's more so it might be a good trend, honestly. I mean, to be in a place where you feel like you can support. You don't want to just have a kid and realize when you can't support them, it's too late.
Right. Because you can't, the kids are not like, you don't return them with the receipt.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think it is, in a way, I mean, it may be a more positive trend. I don't see too many negatives in it outside of waiting later. But
I think the counter argument probably is like, can you ever have enough?
Yeah.
Like, are you ever really ready?
Right.
What do they say? What's the whole thing is like each kid you eventually pay like $250,000, right?
Yeah.
Or something like that per kid. Which, if you win the Mega Millions,
again, 900 million.
You could. I mean, that's a lot of kids.
Yeah.
And you got it cash in hand.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I think that's a significant amount of money. Perhaps for somebody who's very well off in a money kind of way that I can't even imagine, probably not a big deal. But to most, the average American,
right,
$250K, no joke.
No, yeah.
And most, I would say that lots of people won't have more than one.
Right.
I mean, so then when we're talking about 500, 750, if you have four, that's $1 million.
Yeah.
And most people can't really imagine $1 million.
Right.
And those aren't like hard numbers, but still, I mean, when you factor in all the costs that it takes to raise another human being, an interesting trend to say the least. I mean, I think. Where do you think this ends up, though? I mean, do they just wait later, or do we end up with? I mean, I think we end up with less children overall. Right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think when you think about a place like San Francisco, the cost of living it is outrageous. I mean, it's one of the, it's maybe one of the fastest growing places in the world because of the technology trends, because of people are flocking to it for the need to go into technology. So
sure, the opportunity,
They might be going into work and to grind, but I think at a certain point, I don't know. I mean, it might end up with being less kids, but I think it is a smart trend in a way, because again, you don't want to bring a child, someone who doesn't understand maybe money and that kind of stuff. You don't want to bring them into the world without the means to support them.
Sure.
I just don't.
No, I'm with you there. I guess my question really about the whole thing is, when does the bubble burst? Because if the cost of living continues to rise, especially in these metropolitan areas, where it seems like ideas and innovation and these things kind of thrive. I mean, if the people who are bringing the innovation and the ideas, such as the young professionals who go in to work for Google or Apple or Microsoft or whoever, if they can't afford to live there, and they can't afford to raise families, I think it's only a matter of time before you run out of professionals.
Right.
And if you run out of professionals being able to go there and live there and eat, put a roof over their heads, I think you end up with less innovations. So I think the bubble has to burst eventually, right?
Yeah, I mean, but I also think about, again, this is going into what business this is in technology. It's not something that you have to be in that area, I feel like, to contribute to the ideas.
Sure.
I feel like, your ideas can be brought in. But I think it might be people moving back out to these more rural areas. And we see that even in our home in Gainesville, where it's growing. I mean, we're even getting another exit.
Yeah.
That's where my family's from. But, we're gaining another exit right before the exit we get off of to go home.
Sure.
I mean, it's amazing to me just how much it's growing. And it might be people coming into work in Atlanta, or it might be just the fact that there's more jobs out our way. But, people are moving out of those more congested areas to live in these areas that maybe the cost of living is less. Maybe there's not as many people. The drive is shorter, whatever it might be. But, you might see that more trend of people moving out to these more rural areas and making that drive.
I think we definitely see that. I just kind of consider Atlanta to be expanding.
Yeah.
I mean, eventually it reaches the mountains, in my mind.
Yeah.
Because it just continues to sprawl north and south. I mean, it sprawls in all directions, really. I mean, you see these cities, these metro areas becoming exceedingly large.
Yeah.
And one such metro area is the one that surrounds where we're standing. And the DC metro area is huge,
Massive.
and I was reading things to do when we were on our when we were planning for this trip. I was reading, what are the things we need to do when we're there. And naturally, I mean, it's a city full of history. It's full of museums. It's full of sites and that kind of stuff. And lots of things to do. Lots of good food. Just had some great ramen on H Street at Tico Underground. So if you're in the DC area ever and you're into ramen, I know that Randy is very into ramen. So he'll definitely have to check that out whenever he comes up this way. He really doesn't.
Visit Trump.
He really hates ramen.
And, he'll come visit Trump, too. One of his favorites.
Mm-hmm.
Two of his favorite things.
Exactly. Yeah, ramen and Trump. So whenever he makes his way up here, that's definitely a place to stop. It's called Tico. But anyway, what I'm saying is when I was preparing, I was reading a few articles, and I heard that they didn't recommend that you drive, and that if you do drive to D.C., that you do what we did, and basically park your car where you're staying, and then Uber, public transportation, get around with the metro and the bus system and that kind of stuff.
And why is that?
Because apparently, according to some recent studies, the traffic in the D.C. metropolitan and metro area, the surrounding area, is worse than Los Angeles now.
Wow.
Yeah, and we experienced that a little bit coming in.
For sure.
And we came in around 5.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're talking about rush hour. And we were coming in, and I think it probably was worse leaving the city.
Yeah, for sure.
We saw it locked down one time. I haven't seen gridlock like that in a hot minute.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't move for...
It seemed like a fender bender. I'm not really sure, but they closed down 95, which is a massive interstate.
Yeah, huge.
And it didn't seem like there's maybe one lane open of this massive interstate. So if you can imagine Atlanta traffic on steroids.
Yeah, it was rough.
Backed up.
It was rough.
To Atlanta.
I will say this, though. And see, to me, this is the thing that D.C. and other major cities have over Atlanta is just public transportation is just pretty great.
Yeah.
We left our Airbnb. The DC streetcar is right out front there.
Free.
And it's free. Yeah, you just jump on, and it only goes a certain way. It goes 2 directions, and it goes back and forth. But it gets you pretty much where you need to be to walk to anything.
Yeah.
Or you can take a short bus ride and be wherever you need to be. But there was a new, I don't know if you saw this, Davis, but there's a new MARTA plan for Atlanta. Yeah, it's an exorbitant amount of money. It's a huge plan going through like 2022 or something. But it got approved, I believe. So we may see some upgrades to that public transportation system, which would be much needed, I think.
Wow.
In our area.
Yeah.
But yeah, good discussions.
Beautiful city.
Beautiful. The Capitol really looks like it's painted on, doesn't it? It looks like it's painted in the sky.
Quite gorgeous.
Not every day that you get the opportunity to do an on-site podcast in the U.S. Capitol live on Spreaker. This is me and Davis. My name is Clay. This is Third Thoughts. Remember, you can catch us normally in Georgia live every Wednesday at 2 p.m.
Yeah.
So if you want to jump on and hop on, me, Randy, the Chief, the gang, we're all there usually. Davis, we'll have to have you back. Thanks for being on, man.
Gosh, I've enjoyed it so much. It's something I listen to every week without fail.
Well, I'm glad. I mean, you're a huge fan, and now you get to be part of it. And that's like the ultimate fan experience, right?
Wow, I mean, it's like I won a trip.
It is.
It's like,
and in a way, you did.
Wow.
Profound, right?
I'm stunned.
You're elated.
Again, by the fact that I'm on this podcast, but also because of this beautiful, beautiful city.
Hey, everybody, if you've been listening with us, we appreciate you. Make sure you hit us on the socials at Third Podcast. We have some loyal fans that hit me up on Twitter every week, and I appreciate you so much. Twitter is probably the best way if you want to keep in touch with the show. Facebook, not so much. I mean, the CEO is on his way out, way I see it.
Yeah.
That's a sinking ship. If you haven't gotten rid of your Facebook, you should. But get a Twitter in lieu.
Yep.
Instead of.
Twitter's
because
better.
Twitter is...
Or LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Dope. Okay.
No, let's not get crazy, okay? Twitter is good. Twitter's good for all your Third Podcast news. If you're trying to keep up with me directly, that's a good place too. That's at Third Podcast on Twitter. And I see all of those and do respond to those. And that's the quickest way to get announcements. That's when I tweeted out that we were going to be going live.
Yeah.
From here, from DC. So follow the Third Podcast Twitter. You can hit us on Instagram, I guess. I don't know. I mean, if you're a podcast, what do you post on Instagram?
Nothing.
I mean, exactly. Like, what am I supposed to post a picture of? It's the same thing every week.
Yeah, I guess somebody needs to be filming next time.
We do need cameras. If you want to donate to the camera calls, that is patreon.com/Third Podcast. This has been Clay. This has been Davis. This has been live from Washington, D.C., from the steps of the Capitol building. This has been Third Thoughts. Join us next week.
Bow. Boom, bow, bow.
Perfect. Yes.
Boom, boom, boom.
But until next time.
Boom, boom, boom. Boom.